I wanted a Garden of Eden set up where everything grew. I saw that Mexico was far more romantic and far more room than there is in crowded Southern California. So I bought 2 sleeping bags and I traveled around the country. Plutarco came along with me. And we used to sleep in the sleeping bags wherever we saw a turning that looked interesting. We saw that Xilitla was a very beautiful place, and there wasn't anything as picturesque as Xilitla.
Plutarco Gastelum was the manager of a telegraph office in Cuernavaca. He and Edward had heard about a hidden valley where orchids grew wild. They came upon the waterfalls and pools of Las Pozas in the jungle near the village of Xilitla.
Well, I do remember that he took, I think it was 3 or 4 boa constrictors to the Hotel Francis in Mexico. And then he told me that he thought they were hungry.
I found that I had to bring back some boa constrictors, and I got them up to my room, and they wouldn't eat. And so I got an extra suite that opened into mine just for the boa constrictors, but they still wouldn't eat. And then a very nice friend of mine went all the way to the market and got a lot of nice mice from Lagunia in a sack, which looked very appetizing because I was told the boa constrictors would only eat live things. Meanwhile, Leonora got me 2 beautiful rats from a laboratory that had all been combed and washed to look their best because the laboratory thought she wanted to draw them. Well, the mice and the rats didn't like each other at all. And the boa constrictors wouldn't eat either. And the mice got out and ran along the corridor. And I don't know how, somebody must have left the door open. And one American lady, she was a Texan tourist, said, "My, there are mice in this hotel. This is disgusting. What the hell's happened in a hotel like this has mice?" And so the recamarera, the maid, said, "Oh, no, senora, they're not the hotel's mice. They're the food for the 3 boa constrictors in the next room to you." I always wanted it a place to conserve wildlife. I'd like every conceivable animal. I'd like to be like Noah with the ark if I could. My critics, or people who don't like me, say I like animals because they can't talk back at me. No? The first years I was solely interested in horticulture, and then suddenly in '62 there was a snowfall. Nobody had seen snow before, they didn't know what it was. So when I got back from New York a month later, they said, "Oh, Don Eduardo, for 3 days, white ashes fell and burned everything." So then I decided I would do something that couldn't be killed by freak weather. So I began building only then, things that looked like trees and plants and flowers. That was the result of the snow. I know nothing about engineering, so I have to use twice the amount of reinforcing steel than necessary in order to be sure they will stand up. In fact, I didn't know I had the capability of being an architect. I do rather clumsy sketches. I used to do rather more careful sketches. The great thing is having found Don Jose. I do it a bit at a time. I say the next stage is we do this.
Undaunted by the cost and scale of his vision, Edward pursued the transformation of Las Pozas, a project that eventually encompassed 36 concrete structures spread out over 80 acres of jungle. Las Pozas took 40 workmen, 25 years to build at a cost that exceeded $5 million. Having given away his principal asset, Edward's only source of funding for the continuing construction at Las Pozas was the sale of the paintings he had acquired since the 1920s. By the time of the sale, he had amassed the largest personal collection of surrealist art in the world.
I just happen to know a lot of young, talented painters who, most of them are broke, because young artists, when they begin, have no following. They need money very much. So I began just buying paintings from them so as they could make a living and so they could continue their careers. I never bought pictures from indifferent or bad artists, at least none that I thought were bad, just to help them, because I don't think a bad artist should be encouraged. But there were real people of talent, like xilitla, who really didn't know at the time where his next meal was coming, and I bought pictures from him and Dali, who was doing all right, but he was not known. I went to his house in Spain and bought pictures from him when he was comparatively unknown. And Magritte was very poor at the time I first met him too. He came and stayed with me in London all one summer, because I don't think a bad artist should be encouraged. But there were real people of talent, like xilitla, who really didn't know at the time where his next meal was coming, and I bought pictures from him and Dali, who was doing all right, but he was not known. I went to his house in Spain and bought pictures from him when he was comparatively unknown. And Magritte was very poor at the time I first met him too. He came and stayed with me in London all one summer. I only bought a few Picassos because Picasso was already established and he didn't need financial help. But I became a great friend of his. But I had no intention of making a collection. And I started being very surprised when I heard about the Edward James collection. I said, "What, am I a collector? I didn't know that."
The sale brought Edward enough money to sustain his extravagant lifestyle and continue the work at Las Pozas.
Of course, at that period, he would talk about xilitla a lot. And the thing I regret most is that I didn't really take it very seriously. In a way, he didn't present it very seriously either. He would talk about doing these concrete things in the jungle, and talk about the jungle creeping up on it and the probability that it would not last. The other thing that one must remember is that it was a very remarkable combination of two people, Plutarco and Edward. Plutarco, the practical man, a marvelous stage manager behind the man who had sufficient money to do this extraordinary thing, and the imagination and the creative zeal to carry it out.
I used to think that the time with Uncle Edward was as a tale, as a fairy tale. He was our personal Santa Claus, who always came to take us to some wonderful places. That's the way I remember Uncle Edward, as our magical uncle.
The shapes here, of course, are taken from the nature of the forest. They're sort of instinctively flower shapes and leaf shapes above all, which are inspired by everything round here. But of course nothing is finished, so some of them look very odd. For instance, Plutarco calls those things helicopters, but they're going to actually turn into capitals. When it is 7 stories high, it's now only 3 stories high, it's not even half what it's going to be. There's going to be a huge aviary on top with trees in it. That's why this is so terribly massive, because it's full of reinforced concrete, to stand live trees inside so the birds will really feel they're out of doors. Then we'll get all the wild parrots, and when they've bred enough, we'll let them out to multiply in the hills again. And there will be a room for projections and concerts. The principal thing will the tower will be an aviary with a many-sided object, dodecahedron, you know, the 12-sided object, which is in Leonardo's books on architecture. It'll go very slowly round like this, showing a different light. That'll be the top of all. That'll be the 8th floor. I mean, a lot would probably never be finished. I'd have to be 100 years old to finish them all. But then there's an Arabic proverb, somebody once told me, never finish to build thy house, which means always keep on adding something. Some Arab sage thought of that. I felt I can't be too dotty.